TitleMatchNetwork.com.
What are your initial thoughts on Verne?
Oh, he's a hell of a guy. I mean, my view of Verne's different because he's my father-in-law. Verne to work for was, one thing. But he was a typical old school promoter. And I was kind of raised by him, so I got along good with him. A new guy trying to work with an old school promoter was kind of different. But he was, I got along great with the guy. Let me tell you a funny story how these guys think.
Huh.
Because their mentality only reached a certain limit in terms of certain elements. When they were having the war, McMahon was doing good. The Gagnes and the Crockett's were trying to compete with the McMahons. They were on Nationwide, ESPN, and TBS, and he was on whatever. So there was kind of like this big war going on. So the first time I go into the AWA, I walk into the office, and the secretary meets me, and the door's open so I can see past the secretary at the Verne's office, and all I see is these legs disappearing up into the ceiling. Huh. And I'm looking in there, and Verne has got Jack Lanza standing on his desk, with, pushing up the ceiling pieces, and because Jack was like 6'6", and Jack's head's up there, and he's looking around for bugs, because Verne is convinced McMahon's got his office bugged, because someone found out something, right? So there's info leaking out, so Verne's convinced McMahon's got the office bugged, he's got Lanza standing on the desk looking for it. And I'm in the secretary. Oh, Verne will be right with you. I'm going, okay. And Verne's sitting there looking up. Anything up there, Jack? And no, nothing here, Verne. God damn it, Jesus Christ! I know this thing. So boom. So Jack comes down, gets off the desk, and comes out. And hey, how you doing, Jack? And Verne's in there doing something. All of a sudden, you hear, Jesus Christ! Boom! And the telephone comes flying out of Verne's office. The cord breaks and the phone's bouncing along the floor. And Verne comes out, what the hell is that? And what the secretary did was, in those days when they first got, like, for 90 cents, you'd get one of them little, like, sticker digital clocks. Right. And you'd stick them places.
Okay, yeah.
So the secretary stuck a little round plastic digital clock on the telephone. Right. And when Verne saw that on the phone, he thought that was the bug. And he flipped out and heaved this thing. Now, what the funny bit was, Lanza, who he had searching for the bugs, was the bug. Right. He was the one telling Vince everything, and then shortly after that, he left. He's been working for Vince for the last 20 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
Cartoon, eh?
Wow. How did you wind up dating Verne's daughter?
Oh, God.
Did you guys get busted, like, at a concert or something?
Yeah, we got busted. It was weird. It was weird because I was single for a while and I was having a good time, and Kathy was a real cool chick. She was in the office doing some things, and I knew her a couple of years before that. Right. And then I left for maybe a couple of months. Then I came back, and it was really weird because one day, after knowing her for a couple of years, I'm not even thinking about it. And one of the main reasons I didn't even deal with it because she was Verne's daughter. Right. And when you're growing up a promoter's daughter, the thing you don't want to do is you don't marry a wrestler. That's her thing. And I figured, oh, God, another one of these spoiled rich broads. I didn't want to deal with it. And then, even the stigma with the boys. Oh, you're trying to get the job. So I didn't even bother with them. One day, Kathy's at this computer by the thing. I says, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, look at it. And she types in something when the computers first comes out. It says, good morning, Kathleen. Right. Something simple. And she kind of looks at me like, didn't I do a good thing? And I'm thinking, terrific. But I looked at her, but then there was some kind of light that went bink. And I remember saying to myself, no. No, come on. And she had the same memory of that. Right. And so some months later, we would do promotions together. We'd be out in Vegas promoting together. So we started spending some time together. And she was a really cool chick. And she wasn't at all like I thought she was, because Verne was, different. Plus, when I married Kathy, Verne was millions of dollars. So I'm thinking, And then the more me and Kathy, had a good time and started getting serious, the only thing I could hold against her was the fact, okay, the boys, okay, you married the boss's daughter, so you want to be the champ and have a job and you're married to money. And that was the only thing negative about the whole thing. Right. And finally, after a little while, I was, well, screw it. we had a great time. But we'd sneak around. We snuck around for almost a year because of the way things were. And so one day we're at the Moody Blues concert. And we're sitting there, and the intermission comes on, the lights go on. And who's 2 rows behind us is Greg and his buddy.
All right.
Oh shit, there we are.
All right.
That's right, we're busted. So the next day I get a call, Verne would like to see me in his office.
So you knew.
So I know the jig's up. Right?
Right.
So here's what I do. So I go in, the door opens, I walk in, and as I walk in, Verne, you can see him starting to get up. He must have practiced for hours to get the speech out. And he was getting up, I went, Dad! And that kind of like blanked him out from whatever speech he had planned. He went, but then we had off real good. I mean, we got along real good. It took him a while, but then, it just lasted so long.
Right.
That worked out real good.
What about your memories of your series with Paul Orndorff?
Oh, and Killer Brooks?
Yeah.
God. It wasn't very long, so I really don't remember a lot of it. I remember at the time, what we wanted to do at the time, what they should do today, is swerve the people. Always make a 90-degree turn from the obvious, or what people think's going to happen. And back in those days, like it was with Kurt Henning and Bockwinkel, people thought I was going to get the belt at a certain time. So we swerved them. We did a thing where Kurt and I slipped them the mysterious roll of dimes, but Kurt won it. But no one thought that would happen. And the same thing back in the Orndorff day. People thought that something was going to happen. So instead of me, beating Orndorff, we did something where, I helped Brooks win it, but then I bought it from Brooks for $25,000, which in those days was the first of its kind. No one's ever bought a belt. It was sacrilegious to buy a belt. Belts were sacred.
Right.
It's not like today where everybody's got one. So back then it was one of them things people talk about because I bought the belt from Killer Brooks, but I really don't remember all that much about it. I remember having a couple of matches with Orndorff, but nothing a long time. I think it was a time when he probably took off to New York shortly after that.
What are your memories of young Kurt Henning?
Oh, Kurt was a nice kid. He was a nice guy. That's really a sad story because he was a real fun, kind of like, he was a lot like me. He was a fun-loving guy, loved the business, great in the ring to work with. Then we'd be out golfing a bunch or at the casinos having a good time.
Right.
A little rib player, but never did anything to hurt anybody. And it's really too bad. I remember him when he was a skinny little kid.
Huh. With his dad?
And then he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Never got quite as big as Larry. Larry was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was huge. Ray Stevens?
Great. Well, he was one of the best.
Right.
In fact, Ray Stevens was the one that I came up with the idea about Kurt and Bockwinkel. Stevens is the one that had the idea about. It was his idea with the slipping the roll of dimes and running up and having the change
right
out of the pocket. So that was kind of his gimmick. Oh, he was a classic Ray. He was a fun guy too.
TitleMatchNetwork.com